In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to create this section design in Divi. Now, these sections are ideal for situations where you want to build a site which showcases a specific feature or even for your sales pages. So I'm going to show you step by step how to create this. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you that if you buy Divi using my affiliate link, I will give you access to my web design formula course, a course that teaches you how to design professional looking websites with Divi. All right, so without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. Right, so the first thing we need to do here is to create a brand new page. So I'm going to come over here to pages, click on add new. So we can name this whatever we want, but also I'd like to remind you that this technique can be also used on existing pages. So it doesn't have to be on brand new pages. Okay, right, so let's name our page here. We're just going to call this sections and use Divi Builder. Now what I've done ahead of time is I've gone in and I've added all my images that I need to. I like doing that beforehand, and the websites I use are pexels.com and pixabay.com. And sometimes I also use Unsplash. So it's also a very good resource for your websites. All right, so now that I have my page here almost loaded, as I mentioned, we're going to build this from scratch. So I'm going to click here on start building. All right, so this is where now we need to decide the layout that we're going to have. Are we going to have two equal columns? Are we going to have 2/3, 1/3, and so on? So for this example here, I'm going to start with two equal columns. I'm going to see what that looks like and then see if there's need to change. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now over here in the first column, I'm going to add an image. So I'm going to search for my image module and add it. Next, I'm going to go in and add my actual image. So my image here is going to be, you know what, let's go with this one here. So I'm going to click upload an image. Now you can see here the image is facing the wrong way. So before I move it to the other side, I'm just going to go into design border and just make sure that I have 0 on my borders here, because I don't need to have the borders on this image. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to drag it over to the other side. So I'm just going to click here and drag it over. Okay, so we also need some text that needs to go with this image here. So let's click here on this plus button and add our text module. Select that. Okay. So that's our text module here. That's great. All right. So now that we've added our text module over here on the advanced tab, we need to make sure we go to main element and add this CSS code. So what the CSS code does is it just makes everything all centered. All right. So now that we have this all set, I'm going to save this. And now it's time to customize our text in here. So I'm just going to use some lorem text. So I'm going to come over here to my lorem website, lorem 2. And then I'm just going to copy some text and paste it over to my site. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to need one paragraph. And then I'm just going to hit generate. So now it's generated my paragraph. All I have to do now is to copy the text. Now, this may be a bit too much. I may not need all of this. But back over here now on my site, I'm just going to go in and replace this text. So I'm going to click here and then I'm just going to highlight my text in here and just paste my lorem text. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this is way too much. We don't need all of this. So I'm just going to delete most of it and just remain with just a little bit for our site here. All right, so now that we have our paragraph text here, we're also going to need some text here for our heading. So I'm just going to copy a bit of this text here to use for our heading. So I'm going to save this and then I'm going to come back over here now and maybe just duplicate this, by the way, and then go in and just start creating my heading. So the heading here is just going to be a bunch of text. So I'm just going to delete that. And this is going to be my heading text. Make sure it's a capital here. And then you want to highlight it and set this to say heading 1. Okay. So now that I have heading 1 set, I have my paragraph text set. Now you may want to also now go into our background section here and add our color. Now, it's not really necessary to add our color here at this point because we still have a lot of work to do here on this row. Okay, so over here now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click here on design and then I'm going to come over here to spacing. So as you can see here, we have 8 VW here on our spacing. We want to make sure that we don't have anything there on our spacing. We want to make sure that our design pretty much is edge to edge. Okay, so we're going to save this. And now let's go into our row settings because we want to make this design edge to edge. We want it to fill the whole space. Okay, so we're going to come over here to spacing, and again, making sure we don't have anything over here on the padding, both to the top and the bottom. We're now going to go into sizing. So here on sizing, we can adjust our width here and make it 100%. And I'm just going to copy this because maximum width also needs to be set to 100%. So now you can see that this design is pretty much taking over and it's going edge to edge. But the problem is everything here is all the way flashed to the end, and this is not what we need. So to fix that, we're going to save here, and then we're going to go into the actual module and make our changes there. So one of the quickest ways I noticed I could do this is either by going here into the actual text modules, or I can just go into my settings here and then go into column 1, because this is where we have everything that we need here. So I'm going to go to design, and then I'm going to go to spacing. So on the left side here, I'm just going to set it to, let's say, 10 VW. And now you can see here that we have enough space over here to the left. Now, if you want, you can also add this to the right. And if you're not sure about the size, you can just nudge it a little bit here until you're happy with the size that you have on either side. All right, so now that I have this all set, I'm going to save this, and I'm just going to take a quick look and see what this looks like. So this looks really nice. It looks very, very clean. Now, the next step I'm going to do now is to go in and start adding color. Now, our design here is going to be a black and white design. So why don't we go in and start working on our image here? So I'm going to click here on module settings, go to design, and then we're just going to come over here to filters. Now, what is important here is as you're designing this, you want to keep an eye at the actual image as you're making changes here. So the very first thing we need to do here to make this black and white is to drag this all the way down here until we have no saturation at all in the image. So now that I've done that, I can now play around with the brightness and contrast. So here I can make it brighter if I need to, and then reduce the contrast a little bit. So it depends what look you want to go with, but to be honest, I think this looks okay as it is. I may want to just increase the contrast a little bit to about 114, because I really want high contrast on this design here. All right, so now that I have that all set, I am now going to save this, and then I'm going to give this a color because we want this black. So let's go ahead and do that by coming over here to row settings, background, and set our background color. So now I've just added black as my background color. So we're going to save this. Now we're almost done. The next step now is to give this color. So let's give this some styling. So I'm going to come over here to design, and here on the heading text. So remember, this is heading 1. We are going to increase the size. So let's say this goes to, let's say, 7 VW. Okay, so it's nice and big, as you can see. So I may want to reduce it a little bit here. So you can see here while I'm designing this, it's a matter of just trying things out, playing around with different settings and seeing what looks great on your side. So now that I have the size set, I might as well go into the tablet here and see what things look like in the tablet view. So over here in the tablet, you can see here that the size here doesn't look great. So I'm going to increase the size a little bit. And I can see also that I may need to add some padding both to the top and the bottom. So I am going to do that in a moment. So this looks okay now. And let's go into the phone view. Okay, so in the phone view, I am going to increase this a little bit as well to about 11, maybe even 10. All right. So now that I'm happy with that, the next step now is to just go back in and take a quick look at my padding for that column, both to the top and the bottom, because as you can see, the padding doesn't look really good on mobile devices. Okay, I'm just going to switch back over here. Let's save this and go back to our row settings. So here on the row settings, we're going to go to the first column, which is column 1, design. And here on spacing, I'm going to add my padding, and I want to keep it consistent. So let's save it as 5 VW. Okay. Right. So now that we have our sizes here, again, just to make sure everything looks great, I'm going to go back over here to my mobile views. So I'm going to go to my tablet first. So here on the tablet, I may want to increase my left and right padding here just to center everything so it looks much better. So I'm going to go with 16 VW. And now let's switch over to the phone. In fact, while I'm here, I might as well just add a bit more to the top and the bottom. Okay, so let's go with 16 as well. Now over here on the phone, you can see here that this looks great anyways. All right, so back now on our desktop view, now we need to add a bit of color to our text. So I'm going to save this. So I'm going to start here with this top text module. So I'm going to click here on my module settings, and then I'm going to go into design, heading text, and I'm going to choose my color. So I'm going to go with, let's go with red. Okay, I think that really stands out for our design here. Okay, so now that I have my color all set, I'm going to come over here now and set this to bold. I really like that. Now we can also add some styling to this. So we can add a drop shadow, and we have several styles here for our drop shadows. So let's try this one here. So with this drop shadow here, we can test it by adding our color. In fact, I've gone to the wrong item. So this is our color here. So this is where now, once you add the color, you can start playing around with the positioning of your shadow just by playing around with this. So as you can see here, I'm moving this around. And to be honest, I don't really like this, so I'm just going to get rid of it straight away. But the option is there to play around with these colors. Okay, so now that I have this all set, I'm going to save this. And the next step now is to come over here to my second text module. And this is where now we're also going to change our color. Now with this, I'd like to go with a really light gray and not really go with white because it's just too much for the eye. Okay, so we're going to come over here to design, text, and we're going to start off here with white. As you can see here, this doesn't look great. So we're going to come back to our color picker here and choose our color. So as I mentioned, I like going with a very light gray. So I'm just going to drag this down, and I think that works great. All right, so we're going to go with that for our color, and we might as well go in and make some changes to our sizing. So I'm just going to increase this a little bit. So maybe I'll go with 20. Let's go with 20. Okay, so now that I have that all set, I'm going to save this. So as you can see, we've spent quite a lot of time working on this section. So if you want to save this, you can come over here to this icon here, click and save this to the library. So next time you want to use it, you can always go to the library and pull it from there. But pretty much this is how we design our sections. And in fact, for this to really stand out, I'm just going to add another section here so you can see what it looks like. So there we go. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and bell notification. By doing so, you'll be notified every time I release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.